were there? How were the words? We talked a little bit about the words being tricky. How was it reading some of those tricky words? About the words, that's an awesome. Like, so, what? Do you have an example of a word that you learned more about? Delicate. Did anyone else see that word delicate? Mm-hmm. What do you think the word delicate means? I love that Miguel's hopping in. He's saying it's fragile, so like really easy to break. Awesome job learning what a new word meant. That's so great. I also noticed that you guys wrote down there were a couple of words that tripped you up. One of the words that you guys wrote down was the word faintly. Let's find the word faintly. I'll give you a clue. It's in the first paragraph, second sentence. Put your finger on the word faintly. Awesome job, Miguel. Awesome job, Michelle. Awesome job, Gabby. Who can read that sentence to me that has the word faintly? Any volunteers? Right? Oh, no, we lost our text.
There was a low fire glowing faintly on the earth, and the night light burning by the side of the posted bed on the roadway. And on the bed was lying a boy trying to.
So the word that someone said they had a hard time with was faintly. So I'm going to take a second and we're going to break that word down. There's two parts to that word. So when I see a word I don't know, sometimes I look at the parts to help me. There's the part faint and the part L-Y. When you see the ending L-Y, it tells you that that word is a describing word. It's describing something. Look at that word faintly. What is the word faintly describing? What's it telling us more about? There's a low fire glowing faintly. So what's the word faintly describing? What thing is it telling us more about?
It's starting to fade away.
What's starting to fade away?
The light.
Yep, Gabby, what word specifically does it say? What's glowing faintly? The fire. So what do we think faintly means? It's describing, it's saying, how is it glowing? Do you think it could be glowing really? How can a fire glow? A fire can glow bright or low. Do you think the fire is growing bright or growing low? So what does faintly mean? Is it getting bigger or getting smaller? Smaller. It's fading away, and that's exactly what faintly means. So see how we use some of those word parts to kind of break down what that word meant? So that's something I want you guys to try and do when you come to those new and unknown words, and that way you can do what Michelle did. You can add a new word to your vocabulary, and you can understand even more. I love what we're talking about right now with the word faintly, because this is setting the scene. It's telling us what's happening in the story. Take a look at your text. What's happening in the beginning of the story? What's the scene like? What does it look like? What are you thinking, Miguel? What's it look like?
Looks like it's about this girl and this boy figuring out how to save the boy.
Oh, so you're talking about something that happens later on in the scene, and I want you to hold that in your mind, because we're going to talk about like the way the two of them talk in a second. But what happens when we first start reading? Because remember, this is a chapter from a bigger book, so we have to jump in and figure out what's going on. What's it look like? What's the room look like?
It has
It's a big room.
It has some furniture in it.
Yeah, so is it like a fancy room or like a not so fancy room? Super fancy room. Would you like to stay in this room?
Yes.
I'd like to stay in this fancy room with a four-post, a nice big bed, fancy stuff. Do you think it's daytime or nighttime? How do you know it's nighttime? Because there's a fire going. There's something else that's happening too. And there's a boy crying. I mean, we're introduced to a boy that's crying. Who's the boy that's crying? Colin. So, you know, we said yesterday our first character is who? Mary. Who's the second character?
Colin.
Those are the two characters in the scene. What do we know about Colin from this scene? I'll start with Miguel and then we'll hop over again. Mm-hmm.
That he has to stay in that room because he was afraid that Mary was there.
Yes, he has to stay in the room. Does he like visitors?
No.
I don't like having visitors. What were you going to say, Gabby? He's also very ill. I love that you guys are using that word because that's the word the author uses. It means sick. He's sick. And I love that you guys are using that word. That's so awesome. So awesome. We figured out the setting is dark and it's like What's that word?
Spooky.
That was. Did anyone else feel like it was kind of a spooky room? I definitely agree. I felt like it was feeling a little spooky here. I was like, dark. It's dark. It's kind of creepy. I don't know if I like it. All right. So Mary walks in. She sees Colin. What happens next?
She sees him lying on the bed crying.
Ooh, okay, so I'm going to jot down some of these fantastic ideas. We've said, so far, Mary goes in a spooky room. Ooh, I like that. She wonders if it's even real, right? And she sees Colin crying. Is she the only one that isn't sure if it's real?
No.
Who else doesn't think it's real? I love that you quoted the text. Can we all just give like a silent clap for like quoting the text? That's amazing. Colin says, she's not real. Are you real? Are you a ghost? And how does Mary convince Colin that she's real? How does she convince Colin she's real?
By pinching him.
Like, you just remembered that. You didn't need to look. Can you show me where it is in the text? Because that's absolutely right. Got it? Can you read me the line where you from?
And it says, I will pinch you if you show.
Yeah, but does she actually pinch him, or does she say she could pinch him? She could. She does something else to show she's real.
Oh, she wraps the cloth around it.
Did you have to change your answer a little bit? Yeah, so it wasn't that she pinched him. She said she was gonna pinch him, but before she did that, she gave him a little piece of like cloth to touch, right? Fantastic. I want you to take a second and think. So we were seeing some things about Colin, we're seeing some things about Mary. What have you been learning about Mary as we've been reading? Think. When you've got an answer, give me a thumbs up. When you have an idea about what Mary's like, give me a thumbs up. Got an idea about what Mary's like? Awesome. Hold on to that idea. Make sure you got some evidence. Got an idea about what Mary's like. Thumbs up. Alright, I see some thumbs. If you want you to turn to Miguel and tell him what you think. Earlier, you guys said some really great things about what Mary's like. This group has a really interesting idea. They said that they think Mary's nice. And then, what was your evidence for that?
That I'll pinch you if you like.
I'll pinch you if you like.
I was saying, I will pinch you.
So instead of just like pinching him, she's like, I'll pinch you if you like. She offers it. Do we think, show me your hand, do you think that shows she, do you agree that shows she's nice, or do you disagree that shows her she's nice? Oh, that's everyone agrees. Well, I'm actually gonna say like, and it's okay, we can agree, disagree. I feel like I disagree. If someone tells me I'm gonna pinch me, they're gonna pinch me. Does that feel nice to me? Is there a better word for that we could even think of? Miguel, can you think of a better word potentially for what she's doing when she says she's gonna pinch him? Or she'll pinch?
So they ask if you want me to pinch you on them.
So she's like, so I mean, I
That's
guess,
what she's kind of saying, because she said, I'll pinch you if you want.
well, she's gonna be saying, I'll pinch you whether you like it or not.
So that's what she's practically saying, because she said, I'll pinch you. Like if you don't like it.
So is that a nice thing to do?
It is, because she's asking.
Oh, so she's asking first. Okay.
She keeps it.
And so she's using some manners. I have to think of maybe a better word to describe what that is, though. So like, it could be nice that she's asking. I'm glad she's asking. But pinching seems kind of like, whoa. Someone kind of was like, I want to pinch you. How would you react? Like, no, thank you. So what's she doing? She's being really what? Being. Imagine that.
Oh, that's sassy.
Ooh, what's that word?
Sassy.
She's a little sassy. Like, yeah, I'll pinch you if I like. I'm like, oh, wait, what? So Mary, I think I agree with Miguel. I think she's being a little sassy here. And another word that I use sometimes when I say sassy is bold. She's being really bold. She's like, do what I want. I'm gonna pinch you. Show you I'm real. She's being a little bold in this scene. All right, so we've got some ideas about what Mary's like. I want you to keep those in your head. Now, let's rewind our minds. What was our question? What question did we need to answer? You can take a look at your sheet if you want to remind yourself. Was it just what is Mary like? How are Mary and Colin different? So what was the big skill that we were doing? We were trying to do what with the characters? Contrast them. We were trying to see how they were different, right? So we need to see how they were different. What's the first thing we need to figure out how characters are different? So we always read the text and pay attention to the details and the events. And we actually got some of the big events up on our poster. What's the second thing we need to do if we're going to figure out how two characters are different? Think about what we know about one of the characters, and then
what we know about Mary.
And the other character, Mary, and then we need to contrast and say how they're different. One thing I noticed in your guys' writing is you guys did a really good job of noticing some things that were different. A lot of them were like surface level things, like Colin's small and he's sick. And Mary's wandering around. Those are all things that are true, but we want to go deeper. We want to think about like what they're like. Just like when Miguel said, he's sassy. Like that tells me something about like what Mary's really, really like, right? It's not just something she's doing. It's like if someone asked, Mary was your friend, and said, like, hey, tell me about that Mary girl. What's she like? You'd be like, oh, she's kind of sassy. And that's more of a trait. So we want to push our thinking to try and get to some of those traits. Think we can try and do that a little bit together? All right. So remember, we did talk about what they do think and say. So let's take a quick second. What did Mary do, think, and say? What are some things she did think? You guys already mentioned some things. What are some things she did? She said. Got one already. She said. What was the one we were just talking about? I'll pinch you if you like. What's another thing she said? Or did? Yeah,
she wondered if she was in a real place or if she was.
She's like, she wandered so far. She's like, I don't think I'm in a real place. Where she was.
She thought she's gonna go.
So what else? Like, what's a bigger way to say it? She's wandering around in kind of like spooky places, right? All right, so she's wandering. Now she's out. Go.
She was holding her breath. She was Mary standing in the door with her hand on and holding her breath.
I love that. She holds her breath. And what does that show? Like, so we've got a lot of different things right now. She's holding her breath. What's that show us about Mary?
Like she's like scared, like she's like getting.
She's feeling nervous. Does she go in even though she's nervous?
Yes.
Yeah? What would we say about someone that does something even when they're scared? Brave. I love that. So see how you guys are thinking deeper? You've given me two great character traits. You said that Mary is brave. See? Any other character traits that we can think of based on what she did? So maybe kind. Yeah, if you guys have evidence for her being kind, I'm all for it, but you got to show me the evidence. So we said that maybe she was kind because she asked about pinching before she actually did it. That's nice. But we want to think really carefully and make sure that the evidence matches what we're saying. All right, any other character traits other than we're looking at the text? I think we did a pretty good job. We got some good ones. You guys can always add more later. But what's our next step? We're not just thinking about one character. We're going to contrast them. So what do we need to do now? Think about Colin. What did he do? What did he do, think, and say? Miguel, what did he do, think, and say?
He asked if she was a ghost.
Yeah. Asked if Mary was a ghost. What else did he do?
He whispered. He said at least in a half-frightened whisper.
Half-frightened whisper. That's a great detail to pull out. Half-frightened whisper. What other things did he do, think, or say?
Miss, I have another. That back when she said I do.
You also asked him too. Cool. Well, we can always come back to Mary later if you want to add that in. But let's stick with Colin for right now. What else did he do, think, or say? Dad doesn't like him. I like actually to use the word from the text. I should do that too. Dad hates. Anything else, Michelle? He's heard his dad talking about him. Ooh. Now, are these things that we just said, are they traits or just things that happened in the story? Two things happened in the story. What are we going to do to push our thinking deeper? We're going to find we need to find what the character trait is. So let's take, just like we did with Mary. What's some traits about Colin? What can we say about him? Turn and tell your partner. He seems kind of odd. So I like that. So that's a way to put that. He's kind of odd. He's definitely different, right? I felt like he was definitely kind of like something's a little odd there. I like that. And you've got some evidence to back that up, don't you? How do you know he's an odd character?
He has realistic dreams and stuff. Real life.
Yeah, he's being confused about like what's real, what's not real, and like what else where does he stay all the time? He's in bed. You don't know what's going on there. I heard some great traits. I want you guys to say some of the traits, and if you guys agree that's a good trait, show me so that I know it's worthy of our board. What did you say, Michelle?
That he's shy.
He's shy. What do you think? Agree, disagree? How do you know he's shy, Michelle?
Because he doesn't like to have.
What else? Frightened. Do we agree, disagree? Frightened? Is that a trait? Yeah. How do we know he's frightened?
Because when he's talking to you, he's talking to you.
Great. Great. And any other thoughts, Gabby? I love that. He's being super dramatic, like crying and he doesn't have to. All right. Now, the last thing we need to do, though, we've said their traits. What do we need to do? Contrast those traits. Look at these traits. Are they the same or are they different? Different. Do you think we can contrast them pretty easily?
Yeah.
So I want you to take a look at what you wrote yesterday. Take a look at what you wrote. I left a comment there too, so you can read that. It might give you an idea of what to change. But look at what you wrote and think about how you can revise this to make it better. Take a look at what you wrote. Think about how you can revise this to make it better based on our conversation today. When you have an idea about how you want to revise your answer to make it better, give me a thumbs up. Idea about how to revise it? Give me a thumbs up so I know that you're ready. You got an idea. Remember, revising